We are honored at the 23rd opening of the Olympic Games to have President Reagan not only open the Games but join us for a few minutes. Mr. President, back in '32, President Hoover thought it was a silly idea to come and open the Games, and he didn't. How do you feel today?
Well, maybe the world has changed somewhat since then, and with the dangers and the disturbances between nations, and since the history of the Olympics is tied to peace and the ancient Greek city-states that designed these games for that purpose, I think it's very worthwhile for any head of state, and any head of state should feel honored to be able to participate in the opening of these games.
Did I hear a rumor earlier that you had said you'd never seen the spirit of America expressed so well as down on the field?
Well, I think that there is a great patriotic feeling that is sweeping this country and that bodes well for our future. And I think it was expressed here today. It was not only patriotism for our own land, but you saw this great American crowd here and their response to the visiting athletes of other countries. And I just thought, looking down there at all those wonderful young people on that field representing 140 countries, I bet if we turned some of the problems of international relations over to them, they'd solve them before tomorrow.
Well, I was going to ask you, you sit here and you look down, and there's some troubled nations down there. There's some nations have sent their athletes out of the midst of war. Realistically thinking, do you think these games can add to international peace?
Yes, I do. I have been very disturbed by some of the suggestions that have been made in a kind of a cynical way that what with the boycott and all, that maybe these games have seen their day. I don't think so.
Are you sad the Soviets are not here, sir?
Yes, I think it would be far better for the world if they were, but I think they're the losers.
More and more politics have become involved in sport. Do you have any thoughts or any suggestions on how you can get politics out of sport? We've used them against the Soviets. They've used them against us. What's next?
I just think that we ought to give more attention and more heed to what is the purpose back of these games, and has been in the thousands of years since they originally started, which is peace. And if we remember, back in those early days, when Olympic year came along and there was a war going on, they postponed the war in order to carry on the games.
True enough. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. President. And sitting beside us, Mrs. Reagan. I'm glad you enjoyed yourselves. Jim?
Thank you very much, Peter. Peter Jennings with President Ronald Reagan, who opened these games here today.